Alright, for these 6 problems, we're going to use the reference angle approach. So I've got in the top corner over here just the top quadrant, the first quadrant of the unit circle. You can put that on your paper if you want to, but if you can just do these in your head, you'll get even quicker at them. So maybe in the beginning, draw it up at the top, just the first quadrant, don't do the whole thing. And we're always going to refer back to that first quadrant. We're going to push every angle that we have into that top quadrant. So for instance, if we have 240 degrees, if I were to sketch that angle, it's going to be 30 degrees shy of 270. So that reference angle then is 60 degrees. It takes me 60 degrees to get back to that x-axis. That tells me that I can treat this like a 60 degree angle, or like a pi over 3 angle, pi over 3 radians. So if I can find the ordered pair at 60 degrees, which in this problem is 1/2 radical 3 over 2, all that I need to do is find sine. Well, sine is the y value. That's already been done for me. Opposite over hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 1. So y over r, well, r is also 1, tells me that all I need to do is find this ordered pair. Sine is the y coordinate, so radical 3 over 2. The only thing we have to be careful with is the quadrant. So think all students take calculus. So because it falls in the third quadrant, that tells me sine must be negative. Or think about it, we move down. So that tells me that the sine value is negative, and that is your exact value. Secant of negative 150. So sketch it out. Negative 150 is going to be 30 degrees shy of that x-axis. So we can treat it like a 30 degree angle. Well, that's going to have an exact value, a ratio 3 over 2, 1/2. That's all I need. That ordered pair, once I have that, I can find any of the 6 trig functions of any 30 degree reference angle. So now secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So my cosine would be radical 3 over 2. To find secant, all you do is flip the fraction. So it becomes 2 over radical 3. Well, if we rationalize, we get 2 radical 3 over 3. And then your last thing that you have to check is, should it be positive or should it be negative if it's in the third quadrant? Well, if we're dealing with cosine, that is a negative. There's my exact value. Now we have a radian, so 2 pi over 3. If you look at this unit circle, we have a denominator of 3 up here with the 60. So anytime you have a denominator of 3, your reference angle is 60. You just have to pay attention to what quadrant does your value fall in. So 2 pi over 3, it is less than 1, so it's going to be a 60 degree reference angle in the second quadrant. That tells me tangent should be negative, so I'm going to go ahead and put a negative so I don't forget. 60 degrees has an ordered pair of 1 over 2, radical 3 over 2. To find tangent, I take y, which is radical 3 over 2, divided by x, or sine divided by cosine, multiplied by the reciprocal, so my 2's cancel. All I'm left with is negative radical 3. Now we've got 10 pi. So anytime you have whole numbers, that tells me it's going to be falling on one of the x-axes. Well, if we think about where pi falls, this would be 1 pi. One trip around would be 2 pi. So every even multiple of pi is going to fall on the positive x-axis. Every odd multiple of pi falls on the negative. So if we have 10 pi, that's going to fall right here where 2 pi is. Think of this as an ordered pair. It has a radius of 1, so I moved out 1. I did not move vertically. So that ordered pair is 1, 0. Tells me cosine is 1, so there's my answer. Sine is 0. If I wanted tangent here, we would take 0 over 1 and get 0. That would be my tangent. If I wanted cotangent, I would take x, which is 1, over y, which would be undefined. We've got a negative radian, so this time we have a denominator of 6, so that tells me that my denominator of 6 is the same thing as 30 degrees. So we have a reference angle of 1 pi over 6, or 30 degrees. So that would have an ordered pair of radical 3 over 2, 1/2. So now we want cotangent of negative 5 pi over 6. Cotangent is x over y. So radical 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. We just did this. So 2 over 1, the 2's cancel. We get radical 3. Negative 5 pi over 6 falls in my third quadrant. So tangent in the third quadrant is positive. That means cotangent in the third quadrant is positive as well. And then the last one that we have is 270 degrees. Well, we have 90, 180. Here is 270 degrees. That's also 3 pi over 2. So anytime you have a pi over 2, a multiple of that, it's going to fall on the y-axis. Whole numbers fall on the x. Pi over 2's fall on the y. We want to find cosecant. So if we think about this as an ordered pair, it's 0, negative 1. cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So sine is -1. But we know that since cosecant is the reciprocal, that means it's 1 over sine. 1 over -1, we still are at -1.